Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What is going on, everyone? I go by RB, and this is Philly Take with RB. Now, if you guys have been enjoying the content of this channel, take 1 second for me. Go ahead and smash that like button. And if you are new and want to stay updated on some great Philly content, well, be sure to hit that subscribe. So today, I just want to talk about a few things pertaining to the Philadelphia 76ers. Obviously, there's not a lot going on with no basketball or anything. And the draft videos that you guys have been requesting will be coming soon. I just want to wait to see when the NBA draft will officially be held so I can get a good timetable for when I should release them, okay? But today we got a couple things, like I said. So the first thing we will discuss here today is what Mike Scott had to say about Philadelphia. This past week, he was on a podcast called Let's Talk Battle Rap, discussing his NBA career, discussing how things have gone for him as of recent, and he talks about Philadelphia, and he talks about how it kind of gave him a spark to his career, how he was kind of feeling down, but when he came to Philadelphia, things got a lot better. Now, it's crazy to think that Mike Scott has just been on this team for pretty much a year and a half. I mean, the guy really fit into the culture here in Philadelphia. The fans love him. The Mike Scott Hive, everything about Mike Scott and what he has said and what he has done has really, taken a toll on these Philly fans. We've embraced him so much throughout a year and a half, and it's felt like 5 years. But anyway, on this podcast, Mike was asked about the Philly atmosphere, and he had to say this. As you can see right here on the screen, he was asked about Philly, and he says, "That's how it is in Philly. It's gritty. It ain't soft." And then the guy asked him how you feel when guys get booed. And Mike Scott said, "I'm a logical person. I try to understand both sides. Of course, we're not trying to come out here and play terrible. But sometimes we have bad games." And from their side, talking about the fans, don't play that way. We paid our money. We're hardworking people in the city of Philadelphia. Gritty, blue-collar people who paid our hard-earned money. Know what I'm saying? We don't want to come out here on some BS, and we're going to let you hear it. I respect that too. They don't hate us. They are just passionate, very passionate. And I love what Mike Scott had to say here, because I did a video earlier this week talking about why Philadelphia is the best sports city in the world. And one of my biggest points was about accountability and how we hold our players to a certain standard on any given night, no matter the opponent. And that's just who we are as sports fans. That's what we love. And that's, the great players, the great cities respect that. You know what I mean? That relationship between the players and the fans, knowing that it's not out of angst. It's not out of, displeasure with the guys themselves. It's just we want to see our athletes of our city who represent us do well, and we will let you hear it when you do, and we will let you hear it when you don't. So I love what Mike Scott had to say about that, and I think it really just echoes what I was trying to say earlier in the week about this accountability factor. By the way, Mike Scott apparently talked to Elton Brand and Brett Brown about the potential comeback next season if this season were to end, and apparently he said that he would like to be back playing under Brett Brown in the Philadelphia organization next year, but it'll depend on the money, how long, what he sees for the future of his career. As he's getting older, he's not going to be one of your most valuable pieces, but he could be a depth piece if he continues to play up to par. Obviously, he wasn't having the best of seasons this season, but as you can see here, he says in LA, he just didn't feel himself. But when he came to Philly, that culture he built with the fans and that relationship and just that energy that we bring really helps him as a player. And we already know, we heard this before, Mike Scott's mindset every time he steps on the court. I don't even need to say anything more there. And then the other thing that I would like to discuss here today talks about Ben Simmons and a potential Ben Simmons trade, this offseason or whatever. Now, I stumbled across this article on Twitter and I looked more into it, and it's more on the humorous side. It's comical to me, to be honest, what people are writing about during this pandemic. As I started to look into this a little bit more, apparently back in January, there were multiple articles discussing a Ben Simmons possible deal that would send him away. Now, I couldn't believe reading this First off, let me describe to you what this article talks about. So apparently this former basketball player, I don't think he ever played in the NBA, but apparently, he played overseas and in a couple other leagues. Now he's a college basketball analyst. Apparently his name is Rashad Phillips. And he was quoted in this article. He was talking on a podcast about a potential 3-team trade that would send Ben Simmons to the Golden State Warriors, Kyle Lowry to the Philadelphia 76ers, and the number 1 overall pick, pending that the season ends and the Warriors are the worst team, they get the number 1, they would send it to the Toronto Raptors, and the Raptors would be able to draft LaMelo Ball. Now, let me just say, first off, right? It's crazy to me what, people are writing about. I expect some of these writers to try to give a little juice to stories, to get some clicks. It's been a hard time for sports overall, right? I expect these people to do that. Now, do I agree with it? No. But here's my thing. If you are going to make a story like this, like a big crazy trade, I'm all for it, okay? Like, let's talk about crazy trade scenarios. Most of them won't happen, and I'm not mad about this because I know it would never be a possibility. But if you're going to, like, spice up something crazy that we can all, digest and give our own perspectives on, at least make it sensible. Like, at least make it realistic. Here's my problem, okay? First off, let's look at a quote in this article that was quoted from Rashad Phillips. And in the podcast, whatever podcast he was talking on, he goes ahead and says this: I just believe that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are not compatible in regards to how the NBA style is played. Not personally compatible, just the way the spacing. Ben Simmons' inability to make jump shots. Joel Embiid's ability to want to shoot jump shots. I don't think it's a good mix. If I'm the Raptors, I'll trade Kyle Lowry to Philly. Philly needs a point guard. I believe Kyle Lowry is one of the premier point guards in the NBA. Philly needs that. I would send Ben Simmons to Golden State for maybe a pick and some players. If I am the Raptors, I try to get in that mix to get LaMelo Ball. Now, here's my number 1 issue with this, right? First off, like I said, be realistic. I don't want Kyle Lowry, okay? Kyle Lowry is getting up there in age. Obviously, he's being overpaid because of the run that the Raptors went on in the playoffs. He got that franchise tag. He's getting more than he should, obviously, but he's getting up there in age. Kyle Lowry has never been, in my opinion, a premier point guard, a top point guard in the NBA, right? So first off, the fact that she would say to send Kyle Lowry to Philadelphia is just blows my mind. It's funny to me because he knows how much Philly doesn't like Kyle Lowry. I mean, me personally, he's one of the people I do not respect a lot in this league because even though he plays with grit and he tries to be tough, he cries too much. He cries to the refs and he acts like a baby every time we play the Raptors. And I hate how the refs feed right into it, okay? But even from a talent perspective, you're telling me the Sixers would just trade Ben Simmons and get a pick and some players back? Who are we going to get back from the Warriors, the D-League Warriors, or the Raptors that can fill Ben Simmons' void along with Kyle Lowry? Like, that's number 1, okay? Number 2, Ben Simmons. You guys know how I feel about Ben Simmons. To me, he is a jump shot away from becoming one of the best players in the NBA. Like, no doubt, down the road. He's far from his prime. He's 23 years old. And you are telling me that we would part with Ben Simmons, who can really do anything on the court that you ask him to, can play multiple positions, can guard 1 through 5. He is fast. He is a 7-foot point guard with handles, IQ, and passing like we haven't seen since Magic Johnson. The only thing he has to do is develop a jump shot. And even without a jump shot, he can be serviceable. But you are telling me that we would trade Ben Simmons to the Golden State Warriors? The Golden State Warriors, if there is any team that I'm trading Ben Simmons to, it is a team with no stars, no power whatsoever, a team that is far out from winning. And if it's any team, the Golden State Warriors, talk about teams that can make bums start looking good and shooting three-pointers. Teams that made JaVale McGee look like a good basketball player. The teams that had Zaza Pachulia winning rings. Steve Kerr, if Ben Simmons ever went to the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr would bring him right in, and in 10 games, Ben Simmons would be knocking down 4 threes a game. It's funny to me. The team that turns everyone into a three-point shooter, you would want to send Ben Simmons to that team. The guy would end up becoming someone that we've never seen. He would end up becoming like Kevin Durant, honestly. Like, the Golden State Warriors, come on now. That's problem number 2. The author even mentions in the article about Ben Simmons being paired up with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Like, do you know how lethal that would be? Like, it would be unfair for the rest of the NBA. And with what I expect Ben Simmons to continue to develop into, there is no way I am giving Ben Simmons away. And that goes to my last point, talking about how Simmons and Embiid are not compatible. There are Sixers fans out there who believe that. They do not want to wait for the tenure of another head coach, possibly another system in Philly. They just believe that Simmons and Embiid can't play, but I don't believe that is true. I believe these guys can play together. They can work as long as these guys just get smarter and just get more consistent and bring that energy that we know they have deep down inside. With what Ben Simmons can do, with what Joel Embiid can do, with what we sacrificed for years to get these pieces and to be in this situation. But anyway, overall, I just think it goes to show it's funny that people are writing about this stuff, especially during this time. Like I said, it was brought up a couple months back before D'Lo got traded, apparently. They were talking about sending D'Lo to the Sixers. I still wouldn't have done it for Ben Simmons. But even now, the fact that they brought this back up and are now, combining it with draft talk. I mean, yeah, the Raptors, sure, they might like LaMelo Ball and they want to get rid of an aging Kyle Lowry. That would make sense. Of course, Golden State would enjoy Ben Simmons' presence and imagine what they could develop him into even quicker. But this just makes absolutely no sense for the Sixers. And I kind of just found it as really funny. And I just wanted to show it to you guys to see what you would say. Because like I said, there are some people out there that don't think Embiid and Simmons could work together. But you guys can let me know down below, what do you think about this potential, crazy trade scenario? For the people out there, like I said, would you consider trading Simmons or Embiid in the near future? You guys can let me know down below, and also give me your thoughts on what Mike Scott had to say about embracing that Philadelphia culture and attitude. Let me know all your guys' thoughts down below. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Perfect.